8:59. Boy, we are losing people, or people are time. I've noticed that people are timing their logging in to calls much closer now. It used to be people would get there early, and now it's becoming like normal meetings. People like tend to show up 5 minutes late.
I was actually trying to do some productive work first, so that's why I'm sort of late.
Yeah, I find that the most productive time of the day is at 8 to 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Time I might normally be spending on the subway.
So you're not going in yet? You're not opening till January, is that what you said, till the new year?
We are not making a decision about going back until January.
Ah.
Or the end of December, I guess.
Yeah.
So my money is on this extending probably through March at least.
Yeah, I wouldn't take that bet with you. If it's only through March, I think we'll be happy.
And even then, we will be going back. When we go back, it will be sporadic, at a lesser percentage, and I think we've all shown that we can do this remotely, and there are benefits to it. Not the least of which is that our IT staff, and all the way up to IOTS, which is, I have no idea what IOTS stands for, but it's like IOTTS, but it's the highest level of the information technology folks, way above us. And they are putting a lot of effort into getting all of us all the equipment we need to work remotely. They spent a lot of time providing us with Band-Aids over the last few months so that we can work, and they did a fantastic job doing that. But now they're turning their attention to kind of a more permanent fixes, which include everybody having laptops, everybody having the ability at least to have VPN, and to make all of this kind of at least possible on a routine basis.
Welcome to the 20th century.
I know, it's very exciting. It's it was kind of their long-term plan, but we were probably 3/4 of the way through a technology upgrade for our that included refreshing all of our desktops and giving us new memory and making sure that they were running Windows 10. My desktop in the office just got upgraded.
Oh.
Which means I'm last on the list for these new laptops. But Gerard, you may be hearing this for the first time. You guys just got upgraded too. I think you're the last region to be done. So, but it partly get everybody off Windows 7.
Yes.
Well, just in time.
Yeah, well, so.
But they've also shortened the overall time frame. Originally they were saying over the year everybody will have a laptop. Now they're saying by April.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
It's recognition that we are in some form of this for a while, or that we now feel comfortable kind of using all of this technology and the benefits that it's bringing, both in terms of kind of quality of life for our staff, having that flexibility. Certainly it was hard for when we are able to hire, it will make us slightly more competitive if we have the flexibility as well. Yes, Central just got the upgrade, which means all of your laptops that were just upgraded, all of your desktops, sorry, that were upgraded will be replaced by laptops, but kind of since you're running Windows 10, Rachel, then it's slightly lower down on the priority list. But as Gerard said, everybody is going to be upgraded by April. So all of this may be news to the DEP staff.
They're the last to know.
Online, the last thing. Well, it is amazing how kind of flexible and nimble the IT people have become. You know, in a very good way. They have you know, really have kind of changed the way that they think about all of this and that they work, and it's very impressive, and that they were able to do that in such short notice. So props to all of the IT folks. I used to think I would enjoy their job, but you know, given what they've been through for the last 6 months, I'm not sure I would have the patience for that. But they do fun things.
Yeah.
The other thing you know, notable for today, of course, is our Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy Water New Year to you as well, Paul.
Water New Year?
Yes.
Yes.
This is the beginning of the hydrologic cycle.
Oh, I meant the federal fiscal year myself.
Oh,
They're the same.
Yeah, the having, you know, being one of those people that were, you know, sitting at my desk until far too late in the afternoon yesterday, waiting for something to get done so I could pass it on to EPA. My role in it being just messenger. The end of the federal fiscal year brings so much joy.
And then you get to do it all over again.
Yeah. But you know, I assume that our in wayside cleanup, because we're not quite as tied to, you know, the Superfund program. It's not like we implement the federal program like the water programs do, or the air programs. So I'm sure it's more hectic in some of the other DEP programs, but you know, our staff that work on federal sites, whether they're, you know, Superfund sites or record corrective action sites or DOD and federal facilities, all the FUDs work, all the grant people that work on the financial side that support all of that work, and our administrative services people and the Office of General Counsel. You know, there are a lot of people that come October 1st just kind of go, thank God September is over. And you know, we certainly have people that do not take vacations in September, and sometimes in August for those reasons. One of which, not related to DEP, is my wife, who as a consultant, not in the environmental field, deals a lot with the federal fiscal year, and I think she's relieved too. So I don't know how you guys, you know, to the extent that you have federal contracts and it affects you, but happy New Year and happy Water New Year.
Thank you.
That sounds a lot more fun.
Although this year it might be lack of water New Year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Though it was nice taking the dog out for a walk in the rain yesterday. So finally. And speaking of water, PFAS MCL goes into effect tomorrow.
Woo.
All very exciting. So that has all sorts of effects for us and waste site cleanup, but again, the water program obviously is going to have a lot of fun, and the regional staff are, because the public water supplies will be ramping up their testing, which means they're going to be finding things, which means everybody has to respond. Everybody is taking that deep breath and maybe enjoying October before the results start rolling in. So that's about it for, you know, any news that I have. I don't think I have too much other.
Congratulations on your LSPA award, Paul.
Yeah. So last week in this call, you know, it's kind of embarrassing to look back and think, okay, a large number of you were sitting there keeping secrets, and you did a very good job of doing that, and thank you, and thanks to the LSPA for that. Somewhere around here. Oh, here it is. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there it is.
Very nice.
I'll have to get it up on the back.
Well deserved.
Absolutely.
Like I said, very, very shiny. You
Mhm.
got some nice gloss on that.
It was fun
Probably
to
used
catch you a little bit off
oil-based
guard.
paint with solvents in it.
What, Elliot?
It probably was finished with oil-based paints with solvents in
Oh
it.
yeah, but
Well, some waterproofing with PFAS in it, Elliot, I think is what they use.
yeah, I'm sure the water will just like roll right off of that. I should do some testing. just take a little core sample and send it out. You're finding PFAS and everything, so plaques and awards, I'm sure I would not be surprised. In fact, it would be appropriate. So questions you guys have, are anything that's eating at you? Things? No. Boy, this is going to be a nice quick
Well,
meeting today. Nobody. Yeah.
Not even me.
Transition from 8260C to 8260D CAM updates. So, Liz, do you want to take that? That was in the chat. Good question.
I know I have heard of that being something that we would work on, but I can't speak to that with to be very clear on it. So I can bring that back next time. I know we've done recently, actually Ken might recall this a little better than I can, but we have recently kind of taken an inventory of additional CAM updates. And I do believe that was on the list, but can't offer you more than that.
Is there any plan to have a CAM protocol for PFAS analysis?
That is definitely on the list. Yes.
I think at the time we first started talking about that, there was some question about whether the method was continuing to evolve. And some of you will know more about how settled that all is than I do. But that was initially why we held off on moving forward with that.
Yeah, so in the bandwidth that's devoted to analytical issues and CAM, then if you think of it this way, we have a certain amount of bandwidth and a certain amount of people with the expertise who can work on it, then the PFAS is there and is kind of, it's the question of the timing, the stabilizing methods and coming to consensus on that, and then incorporating it to CAM, and then things like the 8260D, let us know how much of a kind of priority it would be, and where it would rank relative to things like PFAS. Yeah, it does become a question of the amount of time and effort that we can spend on that versus something else.
Paul, does the next year's budget have anything in it for taking over the NPDES program?
So, I'm speaking, far outside the wayside cleanup world at this, both talking about NPDES and talking about budget. So take anything I say with a huge grain of salt, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But to the extent I know something, the governor proposed his budget in January of last year for the year that we're now operating in, and then chaos came about. So the state's operating on a month budget at the moment, while we wait to see how everything plays out. It is looking like, to the extent that the legislature is going to have a longer, multi-month budget for this year, and then looking into next year. If you look at the governor's budget from January, that did not include the NIPD's primacy, taking that. So I would say at this time, with all the uncertainty, I wouldn't envision that being inserted unless there was something that came up that really pushed it. I know from our perspective, we would still like that, and that would be a longer term objective. But I think it was proposed three years in a row and didn't make it 3 years. So I think taking some time off and kind of thinking about kind of how to go about it and what issues prevented it from moving forward, and trying to address those in the short term before it gets proposed again. What was in the governor's budget was additional money for PFAS, for staff to address these PFAS, the sites and contaminated water systems have PFAS, and we still have hope that at least some of that would be preserved moving into the future, and that we would have additional resources to deal with PFAS. Because as we said, starting out this, now that the MCL is final tomorrow, our public water supplies will be sampling for PFAS, and some fraction of it, hopefully a small fraction, but some fraction will find it, and that has ripple effects for staffing throughout the regions in Boston. So whether it's pulling people off of other projects to work on PFAS, or getting new bodies to work on PFAS, it will be a high priority. It can't not be a high priority. I don't think we have much of a choice in that.
So if you found PFAS in a well, a public supply well, would you envision then that municipality would have to put point of discharge treatment on the well?
Well, so public water supply wells, we have a number of them that have already sampled and found PFAS. So I think can tell you with a lot of confidence what will happen, assuming that's above 20 parts per trillion for some combination of those six. Then there will be public notice. There are requirements for letting the consumers know that they're above the standard. And at the same time, our drinking water program will be working with the public water supplier to figure out the best approach for dealing with it. And we have examples of short-term fixes, which might include shutting down a well, which since we're moving into the winter months, water demand will be going down compared to the summer. And often that's a short-term option to deal with the immediate problem while they figure out other options, which have in the past included bringing on new wells, reactivating old wells, putting on treatment systems, moving existing treatment systems over to the new wells. It's part of the fun and challenge of this for the drinking water folks is that pretty much every public water supply has a unique combination of factors, and it's not, the response is not as cookie cutter as you would like it to be. So
Thank you.
it does take a lot of their resources to work with the individual towns or municipalities and figure out what to do. You know, and on our side, there's a you know, wayside cleanups contribution to this is often kind of finding out where the stuff is coming from, and that is, as you know, often time intensive and resource intensive, and depending upon the flow of these sites into the system, you know, that may take more time than others. If you're lucky, kind of, you have some obvious sources. If you're really lucky, you have some sources that had already affected the water supply in the past, and you know that there's a clear migration pathway. You know, the thing that comes to mind is, I'm sure, one of Gerard's favorite sites, the Barnstable Fire Training Academy, where, you know, they affected the wells with petroleum and then with perchlorate. So is it any surprise that, you know, PFAS, you know, followed the same route? So if you're lucky, you have that. If you're unlucky, you look out there and you think, we have no idea where it's coming from. So that's the fun of all of this. So that's why some extra bodies would be helpful, both for us and for the municipal, you know, from our, you know, mental health and well-being, and our ability, but also our ability to help the municipalities as they struggle with this, because clearly these are, you know, if you're putting in treatment systems, you're talking millions of dollars of expenses that are now being faced by the public water supplies and the municipalities. And to the extent that there are PRPs that may be able to contribute to that, it would be helpful. And having, you know, some of our larger PRPs include the federal government, and having an MCL for PFAS hopefully will help that as well. So Wendy, you had raised your hand.
Yeah, yeah, it was a little premature, unfortunately, but I just thought I'd put out there related to PFAS that there is a proposal before the legislature, House Bill 4256, for a PFAS an interagency PFAS task force, which is something that was had a lot of momentum until COVID happened. And like a lot of task forces, there are, you know, members who are appointed by various agencies and Senate President and so on and so forth. And the legislation also has 2 people appointed by the governor. One is a scientist with expertise in PFAS, blah, blah, blah. One is a physician with environmental medicine experience. And the LSPA has been advocating to get an LSP onto that task force, either a scientist who is an LSP and also a toxicologist. We didn't want to say that we didn't think a physician with environmental medicine experience was necessarily a bad idea, but a toxicologist, someone who, you know, does this more specifically, anyway, would be a better, you know, an important addition. So anyway, the LSPA actually met last Friday with the Senate Ways and Means Committee, and hopefully there'll be a little momentum on that. Again, I have no idea, but you know, sometimes these task forces are more like blue ribbon panels, but we're thinking that if there is you know, if there are some practitioners on this task force, it might be helpful. There are a number of things that they're charged with, and among them are, you know, identifying sources, exposure pathways, benefits and burdens of various treatment disposal options, and how state agencies can most effectively use their existing authority and resources to reduce or eliminate priority risks. So a lot of what you would expect, but I just thought I'd put that out there. So hopefully the task force will happen, and hopefully there will be a practitioner, at least LSP or a toxicologist involved.
Obviously, I'm not going to comment on any of that.
No,
Thank
I
you
understand.
for doing that.
Yeah, I just,
Uh,
it's for the
yeah.
others.
Yeah, it's always interesting to kind of follow that. Our job is to here at DEP, of course,
Right.
is to take what comes and work with it. So
Yep. There would be a designee from DP on that
Yep.
task force, according to the legislation.
yeah, and any attention to PFAS certainly at the legislative level is good. It's going to be an important issue for for the citizens of the Commonwealth drinking the water, for the municipalities trying to deal with the contamination that's found, certainly for us, as I've said. So, we move on. It's a new year. It's going to be an exciting year. Any other burning issues? No. Okay.